What's up? I might as well hit record. So, I was watching this video, the Burkle Crater, and I started looking around. First of all, I was like, okay, where exactly is this? I've heard of this. I know it's considered relevant because of its recent occurrence. Formation dates to 5,000 years ago is what they're saying here, at least. That's also what he said in this video. I don't know how, disputed that may be. It looks like maybe it might be generally accepted. I don't know. But besides the point, I generally interpret that, okay, fine. But I was just looking around and I thought I'd hit record because I've realized, I was like, first of all, I was looking at this picture. I was like, what else is going on? So look at this. There's Central Atlantic Magmatic Province, which I know to be around 200 million years, and then Siberian Traps, which I know to be 251.9-ish, and then the Deccan Traps around 66. But then all this other stuff I don't know, and this doesn't say, so I was like, this is cool, but I noticed, here's the Siberian Traps 250, here's High Arctic, North Atlantic, High Arctic, going almost in a track this way, and then also down this way, across here and down here, like connecting to here, to the Central Atlantic Magmatic Province. But I found this list where I could actually, at least, these are some examples of well-documented examples, and it's a pretty good list enough for me to be like, cool. I was thinking maybe if I looked into this, it might give some direction to something that I'm not thinking of, that by just being aware of it. So, like, for instance, Emishan Traps 253, that's on here. Where is it? Here it is. All the way over here, which is going on generally the same time as Siberian Traps. So there's something going on down here, west of Taiwan, inland here. Southwestern China, in Sichuan. Began 265. So this puts it differently. Although this is just Wikipedia, that just having the list is good. Seeing at least some of them, I'm sure there's more. But so we got that, and then Siberian Traps, and then Central Atlantic Magmatic Province. Let's see if this lists the Arctic. The Arctic is, interestingly, through around the end of the Cretaceous, when the Earth rapid expansion was occurring. So this is probably open. The Arctic was opening up as the rapid expansion of the Earth was like approaching, I guess. I'm thinking about that from the angle of like these, or these things where the Arctic is opening. Like if there's some approaching of this stone expanding in those instances. I don't know. Just a thought that occurred. I don't see it in the stone very in any way, really. I see swirls around it that maybe would suggest it could be kind of cut apart in some way, but nothing substantial. I don't certainly see any trends from these stones to something more. Maybe actually from this to this. Is that possible? Is it possible that it starts out with like a nucleus point where the spirals come off of? That in stones like this, it only is able to capture that nucleus point. But in stones like this, because the nucleus point happens to be much smaller, it's able to shape the rock more. Is it possible there's a nucleus point thing going on here? Like, could this bar that goes across, this is a common, it's not just this little like protruding node, but it commonly has a physical bar across the node. Could that have some relationship to that? I'm not sure how this would become this. Like it would be, these stones would be forming and being shaped by the process. I'm just thinking, so it's not like it was like in this final form and then was like somehow shaped to this. Like that's not what would have happened. It would have been starting from a start point that just somewhere in the process it stopped. So in this one it stopped very early on because it formed a fractally large like starter nucleus fundamental iterative particle, iterative fundamental particle type thing, something of that nature, just like positive negative, maybe like some, because of the bar, I don't know why it would be positive negative, but something to do with a connection between two energies, maybe, I don't know, just some thoughts as a function of this. I know maybe it sounds ridiculous. So then Brazil, around the same time, maybe let's go up a little bit more. Let's go back here. Here, this one. I don't know what it says Antarctica, Australia, New Zealand. So if we look at this one, Karoo, Farrar, it points to here and here, but then it said Antarctica, so I kind of just interpreted these to be this because it doesn't have any arrows to it. But I don't see anything in New Zealand or Australia related to it, I guess. I don't know. But these look kind of like they were generally just related in a physically they were one system that has since separated kind of way, where it began to open. So like the ocean, as the earth was expanding, the crust began to fracture apart, and that led to physical gaping holes in the crust where magma then filled and formed an actual layer. So like Kilauea, like this, how it will do this, and then it will start to, let's see if it erupts. but it'll form like a layer. So like it formed a layer that then was essentially these regions, but then it opened more and formed even more, but then the large igneous province is left behind as a large igneous province, which may be reflective of the pressure it's under. Like in the ocean, the oceanic crust is not considered clearly a large igneous province. Like they're differentiated in a way where they're distinguishable. And I would say that's probably because even though it's essentially from the same source, it's under different pressures coming through like squeezed channels, whereas when the oceanic crust formed, it was basically being more freely flowing, although the Western Pacific, I'm not sure why. I'm not exactly sure how we differentiate it between oceanic and like a large igneous province here. What exactly would make it clear, except for maybe it's just not like part of the spreading and is differentiated more in a physical way, like appearance wise, than a like chemical makeup way. I don't know. Let's keep looking at this list though. So we got those two generally going off. So I'm thinking like a current that's building back pressure, so it emits, erupts here as it's pushing forward, but then the back pressure's pushing it back. So then it starts to flow back this way, and it erupts here and flows like, even though the current's coming this way, it's meeting a back pressure and then erupting back here and here at these weak points where the crust was fracturing by just the energy flows, building the coastlines basically as they would end up being in large part. So let's see, maybe Karoo, Farrar, LIP, images. Images? That might be a good one to check out. This one is 183. So they're not simultaneous. Seems they're very much adjacent, like, because essentially unknowns to this map. This over here connects right here. So I guess there's a gap. Let's see if I can find it. Scholar, Tasmania, this paper, and this paper. This is what I'm referring to. It connects instead. Not just instead, but also because it was an expanding Earth. So it was more like this. So where that large igneous province is in this region, let's see. There's India. Maybe those are it. It's Mafic. 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 Um, when you do everything alone because no one wants to work with you. Well, whose fault is that? Well, I mean, certainly it's partly my fault. Partly. Oh, this is a good one. It's got all the dates. I don't need to go messing around. So much better. Pardon me. Nice. Emplacement characteristics, timescales, and volcanic gas release rates of continental flood basalt eruptions on Earth by Self et al. From the UK, California, Leeds, Oxford. Continental flood basalt provinces are the subaerial expression of large igneous province volcanism. Okay, let's just check out this map. I was thinking of reading it, but I feel like it's too... Like, unless I'm doing a video where I'm just reading. Okay. 90 million. 188. Is this all Deccan traps? I've never pointed to that region as Deccan traps. I'm thinking of it just mainly in terms of the bird. And the angles that the storm directs the current. I mean, it basically is this way. It's certainly in the map enough that I've seen it. I just never saw it mapped as part of the Deccan traps. Hmm. $362. That's pretty interesting. Whoa. It's like until the Earth started to expand, these were together. And then as it expanded, it physically like pulled in a swirling eddy of currents that induced Iceland. $130. 17. 38. $210. Shatsky Rise. Omtong. Something Plateau. Java. Java, I did it. I did it. Magellan Rise. That's not part of... It's not the nose, is it? The nose of the dragon. Right there. I don't think so. There's Hawaii. Okay, this shows it almost directly there. Is that really how it is? There's Burke. I was looking here. Let's check this out real quick. Notably, the fracture line is just adjacent to this crater. And then there's also the other line going this way, so it's like a place where currents are more than one current is interacting in this region. And so for there to be a like explosive crater form there is not random. Let's see, what is this? This is 19.57, 18.38. Okay. I thought they were like in line for a second. What about here? 24, 12. About right at like the center, the furthest point out. 17. Just curious if there's any. In my interpretation, I don't see a reason that they would especially, like, that Hawaii would especially stop at a particular place in relationship to a place like this. Although I could see, like, energetically that it would. I just, like, some point that things would tend towards. I don't know. But I was just checking if they were, like, right next to each other, which would be pretty anomalous in terms of like exactly. Okay, so we got beyond that, we got all this stuff. 190. What is blue? Oceanic plateau. Oh my god. Oh my god. just occurred to me, I wonder if any of these, like, especially fit well over here. Like, 122. That just seems related to this region. Here, this right here. Went down to here, so the plateau would have been forming over this way. Maybe in the Gulf, literally. Oh my god, and it even has this. How distinct is that here? To the eyeballs. Circle. Let's check this out too. I'm not sure how. Okay, we got data. We got data. So this current came in, ran into resistance, and of this current coming up this way. And they basically went this way and this way. And then caused the Ontong Plateau. Going up this way. And then over and just opening. Not in the way that I just did it. Probably more like everywhere else, like spreading from a opening and just pushing space open there. But coming in that way. Although that also is related to the current from forming Mariana Trench coming this way. Down here. Where is it? This one? Just showing that for a second. So there's down here 180, 183, 182, 188. Which looks like it might be the yellow. This one. I think silicic is more eruptive volcanism. But it's a large igneous province, so I'm not sure what the... I don't know. But anyway, 188, 182, 183, 190. So these are all kind of in similar time frame. That's notable. 183, which is also right by this. They were together before the Earth expanded. So probably in that time frame, 180s, they started to break apart those segments by this process happening, where there's cracks in large igneous provinces erupting through the cracks, but then maybe a subsequent crack led to the oceanic crust being formed. Leading into this time frame, like after this though, because it really this region is especially like 60 million and onward. Like if we look at them, like especially here, some of the green. So these were probably, instead of flowing through the crust, like a crack in the crust and going out on top of the crust and then just flowing in a region based on, so like here it didn't really flow that much, it just went where it cracked and filled it and didn't break the chunk off and like create space in the same way as Madagascar, but it began to do the process the same way. And so it ended up being a continental flood basalt by name, whereas over here it physically went between, instead of like a portion of Africa and a portion of Africa, it went between a portion of Africa and a portion of Antarctica, I believe, was there. And so it physically opened a space and then was a oceanic flood basalt plateau, a plateau basin flood basalt province, giving it this differentiation. So it's just like a mound of flood basalt material that was like held in a container, but the container gave it space to fill, and it then, as the earth expanded, there wasn't like a held container to fill around it, so it just moved more, and then the new material that was flowing out just didn't build to the same like depth or elevation of mounds, and so there just wasn't as much material, leading to the ocean floor as we know it more so traditionally, how it forms. Just like this kind of thing, rather than these big mounds. These were more so opening space. This one might have been forming physically. My thought is initially it was forming physically generally here. And that this I don't know. I don't actually know. Let's see. Let me think about this. This is interesting. Because this is not usually I've never seen anywhere where this occurs in the map, and then there's continental crust above it. It's only in the oceans where these types of features form, so that strongly suggests that when this was happening, there was nothing above it. So it's probably happening adjacent, just making space, although again maybe it formed over here. I don't know. Let's follow it back. This one, this right here, goes back here, back to basically where this is. So I've associated this and this right here with this region, and then this region having this current relating to the Baja BC accretions of new material here, physically moving rocks, like large amounts of material from Baja California up to British Columbia, and all this stuff going on in this region that also involves other islands like Philippines and Papua New Guinea. So that was there, and then there's that current going up that way. If that's the case, this current going up that way, this is here. So like this is forming generally maybe around here. Maybe exactly at that point. At the time, let's see. It's hard to follow. Just like me, I guess. If we follow this way, go up here. Maybe it goes over generally there, that way, following that way. It doesn't really seem to go straight across this way, but maybe it goes more that way. I mean, it generally goes towards there, it looks like. It's so hard to say in this region what exactly. There's so many things in the data to account for. It's way more complex. Anyway, this though, if that's going on there, Papua New Guinea is generally here. Maybe. I've been kind of wondering that, is it possible? Is it possible that that material was over here? That doesn't really. This here. It's just so old. It's pretty old. Omtong Java Plateau, 122. I guess not that old. It probably is forming between the continents and just opening space. So there's nothing atop it. opening space. Probably generally along this region. Does that make sense? This is Shatsky Rise is where on here? There it is. I think it's up here. Yeah. It kind of looks like this, actually, maybe. Just thinking what it could be related to energetically in some way where it formed nearby it. It's over here somewhere. Current going this way. Oh my god. That's like fucking tinnitus from all my computer use. Probably electronics. It's just too much electronics. Also feel like we as a species do it to ourselves. Like fucking pretty sure it's not even any, like if there was no electricity on in this house, this fucking antenna thing nearby would anyway. It's probably there. So that's related to this current in some way, and this current, two currents colliding, which makes sense for why it's where it's like ripping apart the earth and then building a mound there because of the currents colliding. And then leading to Shatsky Rise at around 145 million. Let's go back over here. I'm just thinking it's almost like this current that's going this way and then interacting here, then gets further over. Let's see. Because I know it goes over here. Maybe it's here that's what that's referring to. At 100. Yeah. This place. Right here. 100 million there. 145 million here. So these are places I've talked about without like naming them because I don't even know their names. Like I've heard Shatsky Rise, but I wouldn't have even looked into it. I just wouldn't have been able to tell you it without, like, I'm not gonna remember these still. That's the thing. Okay. Maybe now that I'm seeing some more relevance, so this is exciting. Like that current, there's a current coming this way underneath the crust that then, as it gets over here, it starts to vibrate because it's literally interacting with this current that's running into it. and causing this vibration where some of it goes up, gets overwhelmed by it, goes up, and then falls down, and some of it goes down and then climbs up and then falls back to even here. It's almost like different paths possible in life. Let the currents overwhelm. Get overwhelmed by the currents. Maybe. I don't know. Or fight the currents and then get overwhelmed. And then, yeah. Get overwhelmed immediately and then fight the currents. I don't know. I'm just making inferences, trying to be like, I'm the one that goes up like that. Later, that's what I want. I want the one that goes up like that. That's the one that like turns back and goes with the opposing currents to a point where it's kind of blasts off. I don't know. Okay. But I'm thinking that current goes across, creates that, and then creates that. But then it, like, keeps going. These are happening, presumably, much more over here as well, or, wait. It's so, wait. Where is, I haven't quite worked out because it's so complex. Like, this region was not like this. It's hard to expanding Earthless back together. Like, it's easy to do it in the Atlantic. Nope. But over here, because of the newly formed terrain, it makes it much more nuanced, and like Alaska was literally like this way or something, so like it wasn't like this. It was much more other than this. And it's almost like it like exploded out this way or fanned out this way, something like energetically connecting. There's definitely a paper. Maybe if I pull up my slides. I haven't actually done this presentation yet, but I think it's in here. I haven't looked at this in a bit. What was I just looking for again? What was I looking for? Something to do with over there. Oh yeah. Got it. It'll be obvious. It'll have some images. It won't be... There's Alaska. No. Okay, if there's Alaska, maybe it's around there. Guess I can't find it. And there's the Central Atlantic Magmatic Province. I wasn't sure. I haven't looked at that in a couple of weeks, maybe even. I kind of lost my steam, if you will. It's much more one of these fractures than like a ocean basin flood basalt. So where is this? If that, maybe I was looking at the wrong location. Let's pull this out. Here's this. So it should be right here. Going out across. Oh. Going out this way. Oh. Yeah, so it's here. It does not reach over here. Okay, that's what I was kind of like. Where is this? It does not reach here. Basically, it reaches to there. Okay, it reaches here. Okay, it reaches here. That's interesting. And then it even has like a mouth relating to it. Going out that way. So it reaches here. And then it has a mouth going back that way. Something of that nature. And then going out here. It looks almost like this current comes in this way and then starts opening this. So let's look at these. This is what I'm thinking. So it's opening this. Not this one. I feel like I saw a way different date. I'd have to look through these more precisely. I know this is a technical paper, but 120 million years, that's definitely not what I saw in another technical paper. That was saying a time frame. Let's yeah, this paper. 132 to 95 million. This one it puts early Cretaceous. So the way I saw this was early Cretaceous. It's almost like a lava flow where it does like a lobe at a time. I don't know if there's any like a creeping one. Like there. Where it's just like doing a lobe and then that cools, dries, cools, solidifies. Interesting. And then the flow, though, continues and just goes under it. And so, yeah, that kind of thing. Where it happens here and then it happens here. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So maybe there's some general trend where it starts around 300 million in that area and then really builds into 135 to basically the time Baja BC, all that time frame, like 135 to 50 million years. There's a lot going on in the Pacific region and around it, the whole world, but especially there. And so I'm thinking maybe it's like progressing the currents in a direction. But my thought was maybe it goes this way and then it bends based on this path here. Like what if it literally goes this way and then it bends? And then I noticed like this bend here. And I look over and it bends, this bend, like it kind of has a flow across here that maybe goes through there, generally speaking, where there's maybe a current that went underneath this way and then across underneath this way, like physically bent and interacted this way. Because it does lead right to here, which is kind of interesting where it leads to. Which then, like, just past here is this. Where a current, like a shock wave, imagine a tsunami so energetic that it literally did this out of, like, this. Not to say that it was that simple, but like where it just was this and then like it wasn't just like hanging out and then a landslide happened. Like there was a lot of forces going on, but it was still much more like a single landmass. And then it's just like bling, because of the energy flows, sent out a shock wave that broke pieces apart, severed it like this, and then sent an arc. I mean, it's not instantaneous because it was the Earth's expansion process, but relatively speaking, like it was the same thing as like a bing, like a, which also happened down here, surprisingly a little sooner, although that was these 188, 182, 183, 190, 183. So it's going basically down this way around 183, 188, 182, and through Antarctica and then up into eastern Australia. Maybe. That's my interpretation. These don't flow perfectly, if you will. Like it goes up to 190, but it's maybe because of like some change in the currents happening in this time frame where it's like getting overwhelmed and it had to like bend its path maybe, or something happening that I'm not quite sure what to make of it all. 120, 122, 120. Over here we got 90, so that kind of flows with it. Like slightly getting younger from over here going this way, where then 122 and then 120 and then 90 at the end of that stretch over there, where that current kind of went, although it's not quite the same boundaries as what I generally went to of this line to like to here. To here, it goes more so here to like the next rung over here. So maybe it almost like falls in an energy level as it flows across underneath the layers. I don't know. Although maybe that large igneous province at 90 is closely tied to this. The whole of this and just all of what's going on in this region. I gotta remember there's possibility that these currents are not just like going in a straight line, but they're like literally swirling so that they're returning to the same locations, but more energetically and in ways that like the linear connect the dots, like simplicity, hopefulness of looking at this isn't quite as aha immediately. It's interesting, there's a lot going on earlier across Eurasia. Those might be the oldest large igneous provinces on this map. It's a little surprising. I wonder. There's definitely older than 550 million years. Also, I read on Reddit today. Someone asked, "Is it true?" Earth's core 550. Earth's inner core finally formed 550 million years ago. Which is kind of when I said the Earth expansion process is beginning. So it's possible that the Earth's expansion process really begins with the intentional formation of a star, inner star for the planet, for the hollow Earth, Akhendreen, which is in the early phases of Hindu scripture, perhaps. But yeah, that's pretty crazy. I mean, this is a article, and it would be obviously very beneficial to find the resource, the source. Let's see. (2022) from Nature. Nice, thanks guys. Provided by Nature. Wow. Well, maybe I spoke too soon. Wow. That's incredible. I don't know what to make of this. I've never heard of anything like this. Like, what? It doesn't really make sense, but I guess in some ways it could. Like, in terms of it takes more process to have things happen. Let's see what's this about. Western Alps. I might have seen this paper. Thanks, bro. I might have found it. A lot of times when I find it on ResearchGate, I'll just request and keep looking and then find it. So maybe I've already seen that and talked about it. Western Alps, I mean, is for sure it's just another paper that is showing 66 million years thereabouts. Or I just wanted to see what it said, because it doesn't say that. Oh, there it is. Parent ages up to, not just, but up to. So it's like a moment in time when a transition occurred, and then like continued to occur, like whatever at that transition at 66 million years led to other things. Part of me is I just summarize your technical paper as if I have any concept of what it says, except for that I have that concept right there. Up to. Parent age is up to. I don't really know what this is talking about, so maybe it's feasible I'm jumping the gun, but I'm pretty sure that that's actually fine, what I just said. Not sure there's many more details, but it generally shows a change where things started to happen at 66 million there in the crystal formation, at least. Okay, so anyway, there's that. That's an interesting 550 million year. I don't know. I'll have to look into that more. Pretty interesting little tidbit. Something going on. I'll keep this open. So I guess I should stop here. It's 1:30. I didn't really mean to do this. I just started watching this. Yeah. I got some thoughts. After looking around at large igneous provinces. 70 million. I wonder if it even continued across here. And then when it reached here, and like connected in and really just forced the Deccan Traps eruption. I don't know. And then the Earth began to expand, which then it fell back this way with the emissions here. I don't know if that even makes sense, honestly. 90 million. I think this is too approximate. It's too approximate. They're just putting single numbers, probably to save space. But as a result, it's just too lacking data for me to do what I'm trying to do. Where I'm like looking for current flow paths underneath the crust in the data that really needs precise data. for sure this is more just generally depicting for the sake of like understanding here's what's going on, but it's not because we don't think in terms of current flows inducing all of this underneath the crust, literally flowing underneath the crust. It just doesn't have the same relevance in our minds. There's no reason to be like too attentive. When it's more exemplary, probably. Maybe I can find some more. Large igneous provinces. Images. Let's go back to this one, but maybe no dates. It's gonna be hard to find anything with dates. That one's probably the only one with any dates. Okay, there's another one with dates. Same dates. Probably same authors. Every date that I know for certain off the top of my head is the same as the other one. Although that might have been 151 or 251. I think it's all the same though. Definitely their paper again, okay. Cretaceous plateaus. Cool. Like that, they just call it that. I think these have dates, but they're impossible to read. The green I can read, but the orange, not at all. 16.5, 200, 183. I guess I can kind of see it. I can't mouse over it or anything. 133. Whatever. 200. No, that's different. North Atlantic, 2 phases. A first phase, 80 to 58, which opens, and then a second phase, which then spreads. Surprisingly limited. I'm just surprised it's not. Maybe it's just that's where the mounds accumulated, almost like a nucleus. And then it more so just fractured along the lengths, and it's just not as detectable. Okay, that's all I got for now. I gotta go to bed. Peace out. Thanks for hanging out. See you next time.